Hi, Laurel Mountain Elementary. My name is Miss Vance, your Enrichment and Environment Coordinator, bringing you the play-based learning portion of our Whole Child video series. Now, I'm really excited you're here today because we're going to be digging a little bit deeper into the what and why and power of play that it has on the development of our children. Before we get started, what I'd like you to do is take a look at the question that I have on the screen. What do we want for our kids? And I understand too, you've probably been asking yourself this question over the last 6 weeks. But maybe take a moment and pause the video and see if you can synthesize some of those bigger concepts, skills, ideas that are important to you as a parent as well as your child. Here's a list, not an exhaustive one, but a list of values that are deeply rooted in our school wide enrichment program, as well as our place based or outdoor learning curriculum. These are also deeply rooted in play based learning. Now, before we go into what is play based learning, we kind of have to take a few steps back and just understand that teaching and learning are everywhere. We don't need the traditional notion of school in order for our children to be learning the essential skills that are needed for life. Obviously, we've been spending a lot of time at home, and perhaps your children have picked up different skills that they might not have if given we were in our usual traditional schooling model, whether it be emptying the dishwasher or learning how to manage the tasks that are delivered through distance learning, or perhaps figuring out how to schedule their day. These are all essential skills that we know as adults are necessary for life. So children are always looking and watching and looking at the world around them. And one of the ways that children learn are through play. It's a natural pattern that children are drawn to that they don't have to learn. It's just something that they do. And through play, through unstructured play, what children will do is they'll pick up the skills and activities that seem important to their cultures. The unstructured versus structured play is something to note, actually. So, structured play is play that is usually directed by an adult. It's usually the play that we're doing at school. It's perhaps the play that you are already doing at home. But when I'm talking about play based learning, I'm really talking about that unstructured play, that student or child directed play time. So let me give you an example. One of my boys is really into Minecraft. It's something that he's actively engaged in, and he finds a lot of meaning and joy. Through this play, he's able to solve a lot of problems. He's able to build different worlds. He's able to come up with different ideas and be creative, but in a safe place. So sometimes he'll decide to design a world and it's not working out the way that he thought of it in his head. So it's a wonderful opportunity for him to problem solve, to try new things in that safe place. Now, I know that social interactive piece doesn't seem to fit in this model that we're in, but actually it does. He's able to play virtually with his friends, and his friends have a wonderful opportunity to communicate, to problem solve. And even when he's not playing with his friends, he's playing side by side with his brother, and they're able to communicate and collaborate and talk about different ways to make the world look the way they want it to look. So, what does play based learning look like at Laurel Mountain? Loose parts. You can see a couple of different examples here. One of them is in our Grove, and one of them is actually at the Wildflower Center down in South Austin. Those are a couple of our teacher who just took a couple of the loose parts that the center had out. Looks like there are some bamboo sticks and some logs and some other twigs, and they're designing some sort of structure. Similarly, in our Grove, we have a group of students who are designing some structures, and they've just taken rocks from around the playground. And I think actually in this example, they had a couple of different houses and they participated in some imaginative play. Now, I know that the children that are here on the example that I've shown you are younger, but you'd actually be amazed that some of our older children as well are taking the things that are already in nature and creating games or doing some sort of imaginative play. If you walk around the playground or in that Grove area, you're going to find a lot of evidence of students just taking things that are already outside and making it something that's fun for them. You don't have to have the Grove to be able to use parts and pieces or loose parts from nature. Just go in your backyard or even your front yard. It could be as small as a leaf or something a little bit bigger than the examples that I've shown here. Another way in which we introduce and infuse play based learning is through our enrichment and e slots, which happen on our Friday mornings. These are just a couple of examples, but what's worth noting is that the children are sitting close to one another. And the reason that they're doing that is because they're communicating, they're sharing ideas, they're talking through different things. And you'll also note that a teacher's not nearby. Obviously, as our role as adults is to facilitate the learning that's happening, but really there's so much power that comes from letting children have their own agency into designing their own play and playing with different ideas and materials. So, why play based learning? Children develop an understanding about the world around them through these social emotional skills, and it helps them communicate their ideas with others. Critical skills are listed here that last a lifetime. Take a look at those, and how many of those do you use each and every day, whether it be just in your home life or perhaps in your work life? These are all skills that we use, and as long as we're using them, we usually find a whole lot of success. So, through play, children are able to develop these skills as well. So, play and the impact that it has on the brain. So, we have the left side of the brain and we have the right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is that creative piece, it's the empathy, it's the imagination, it's about the process, right? The left side of the brain is that language, numeracy, and analysis. Now, traditional schooling usually schools more towards that left side of the brain. But we can't leave that right side of the brain hanging as well. That's where play comes in. A lot of the times you'll see teachers, and maybe it's been in the slide decks for distance learning as well, infuse different play or games because they know the importance of developing that right side of the brain as well. Building that free prefrontal cortex is also really important as well because that prefrontal cortex is the executive control center. It regulates emotions, it helps us solve problems, and it helps us make plans. So you can see how important building both sides of the brain is important for the development of the whole child. So, how can you foster and support play based learning at home? It's not as hard as you think. These are just a couple of different examples, but some of the most important ones I think for us to share with you today. That play should be child directed. Give your child ample time to play alone and be bored. Through boredom comes that creativity. But also, your role is just to be observant in your child interest. Elaborate and ask questions about what your child is doing. Take interest in what your child is focusing on. Get outside, whether you have a one by one space or you have a larger space backyard or possibly even, going outside on a hike, get outside. There's a lot of research that suggests that time in nature helps children build many skills that are necessary for their whole child development. And I'm sure this next one, a lot of you have already taken part out, but bring out the games, bring out the puzzles, maybe even a stack of plastic cups. There are a lot of materials already around you, maybe even recycled materials that provide an awesome opportunity for your child to be creative, to use that right side of the brain. And lastly, play with your child. Build up your relationship by asking them questions, seeking to want to know a little bit more about what it is that they're doing, and take a genuine interest. Let them guide you in the play. There's so often times where we are directing what's happening each and every day with our kiddos, but through play based learning, it really gives our children an opportunity for that agency to be independent and to make those independent decisions. Now, thank you so much for your time today. I hope that you were able to take away a couple of different new ideas or perhaps perspectives about play based learning. What I'll also be sharing is a resource sheet for parents that have a couple of different extra videos and some links for some different resources if you want to continue to research a little bit more about play based learning and what you can do at home, and just maybe even a little bit more about the science of play. As always, if you have any questions or you need any other resources or ideas, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We are so excited to be able to welcome you all back to Laurel Mountain in the fall. And I hope you take this time this summer to play with your child, have fun, let your own inner child come out as well. Thank you so much.